Well, once again in the saga of Depression to Mania and back again, Starbreeze have something to say, both regarding Update 237 and the mechanics of Payday 3. I was away from my personal PC yesterday for a much needed break, but that doesn't mean the news hasn't been bouncing around on my feed and given me quite a lot to think about. Mostly drooling over Payday 3 info, as I can't quite believe how much information we've been getting about this game in such a short span of time. And goddamn, some of these gameplay snapshots are insanely promising. But I promise I'm going to temper that excitement until we've had time with the game and seen a drastic improvement in the state of Payday 2, because if Starbreeze can't handle a title that's already out, how can they hope to manage Payday 3 sustainably into the future? Fortunately, it looks like things are moving in the right direction to bring our beloved game back to its infamous best. I'm not going to spend too much time going over the Payday 2 situation at the moment, as although we have a recognition of the problem by Starbreeze and somewhat of an action plan, requiring the delay of the crude awakening heist by a week, until we've seen a fix fully implemented on the live client, it's really tough to judge how sufficient the approach is. So, in short, extremely happy to see a response, hopeful for a proper resolution, but unable to comment on a problem solved just yet. For the time being though, we have my favourite coping mechanism to distract me in another huge Payday 3 info drop that I think gives away even more than Starbreeze might have intended, but intentional or not, I'm here for it. First of all, I've decided to not try to name every new weapon I see in these snapshots of gameplay, as there are many of you out there much more qualified on this subject than I. I'll just point them out to you now so you gun experts can let us know what we should expect in the comments. What I am happy to go into detail about though is stealth, which is clearly shaping up to be much more of a dynamic experience. We already know that some actions can be completed in casing mode, such as Dallas controlling and overloading the camera in the SCB's foyer, but now we also know that guards respond to suspicion by trying to seek you out, which opens up so many gameplay possibilities, especially in co-op. Implementing the system sets up for more advanced guard distraction mechanics, or could even allow one teammate to take the heat while the rest of the gang moves forward. I get the feeling that co-op is going to be even more rewarding in Payday 3 than in prior titles, so we'll be looking for a gang to grind with once the game finally launches in September. I think alongside all these more interactive and dynamic situations, which will definitely create some memorable moments, it's going to be important to nail the difficulty of the game within stealth in particular, so I'm hoping some form of scaling has been implemented as we move through the ranks to whatever the hardest mode is in Payday 3. It's excellent to hear a little bit more about civs and captured police units too, who seem to form the backbone of a number of new mechanics. I still think their soulless eyes and lack of facial animations, despite their perilous situation, is a shame, but it has now been confirmed that they can be used as human shields as we predicted. Of course, they can also be tied up and led outside to the cops before an assault, which has also been confirmed to delay the police response and eventual assault. Even beyond that though, it appears to prevent the cops from engaging with you at times, suggesting that SWATs might actually take greater care when around civs instead of just rushing in blindly as we're used to from the hostage rescue teams in Payday 2. Andreas also let it slip that they can be held onto not just as human shield fodder, but also to trade for resources, as well as bring back teammates from custody, meaning civs may translate into more health and ammo in Payday 3. I'm really looking forward to seeing what a hostage-orientated style of gameplay looks like when the game finally launches. We can also take from this information that it's unlikely that cable ties will be a resource in Payday 3, bearing in mind Wolf has half a dozen strapped to his arms if we were desperately in need. This will also play into the more populated maps of New York, which look truly alive from the snippets we've seen here compared to the ghost towns of early Payday 2 maps. I'm also excited to get away from the more concrete and industrial city of Washington to the more intimidating but varied skyline of New York, although we already have confirmation that the gang plans to heist beyond New York as we move further into the game's lifespan, which is exactly the kind of scaling up I hope to see to make future heist content more unique. Skimming through the in-game footage shown, we also get a chance to see the heisters' faces a little closer in this dev diary too. I must say, alongside Wolf's new look, it appears that Dallas and Hoxton have also had somewhat of a facial makeover, meaning even though the 3 known voice actors are returning, it seems likely that a redesign has occurred across the board, possibly to reflect their actual ages, which is referenced by Almir in this interview. Almir also talks about heisters keeping the signs of their previous battles. This is almost a guaranteed confirmation that Hoxton will be keeping his facial burns, instead of them magically healing like they did in the live action ending. Let's just chalk that up to some good lighting on the day. Overall, especially when masked up, the new Heister designs do look amazing in my opinion. Now we can see them properly up close and from the front. I adore their new styles, which might make selling as suits and cosmetics a little bit harder, but I certainly am not complaining. With 2 more heisters confirmed to be joining the roster for launch, but a clear focus on quality over quantity, I'm incredibly excited to hear more. Also, I'm still positive we're getting at least one other female to join this all-boys club, although who it'll be is anyone's guess. Sadly, we can already guarantee that it won't be Jacket, Jimmy, or even Ethan the Healer, at least at the game's launch. Collabs are coming in the future, but I can appreciate that the focus is on creating a much more immersive heisting game first, before we start seeing any chickens, or goats for that matter, in the game. Touching on the game's narrative and occasional absurdity, we're told that the focus will be on the core gang, fleshing out their characters and motivations alongside what appears to be a more grounded criminal narrative instead of anything relating to aliens. Which is fair, I guess, but might have put me out of a job. In any case, I can't wait to work on the story of Payday 3, I actually hope it's natively easier for people to understand. Moving back in for a closer look at the gameplay, if you didn't recognise it already, this dockside location is almost certainly next to the Manhattan Bridge, which likely hosts the art gallery we saw in the Steam screenshots, meaning we've now seen 2 heists in depth, even though some appear diverse enough that they could be set across multiple heists. It's also excellent to see real-world locations once again providing inspiration for the design team. From what I've seen, this is clearly a more stealth-orientated heist, taking place at night with some seriously complex-looking stealth traps, but it is confirmed by the gameplay that loud will also be possible. My guess is that loud or stealth-only heists might be a thing of the past, but we'll have to wait and see. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm wondering if the gameplay shown in this trailer gave away more than was initially intended by the guys at Starbreeze, so I'm going to run you through everything I spotted. Here we see what seems to be the new cop flashbang animation, which is not half as retina destroying as what we've got used to in Payday 2. These weapon animations look really clean and satisfying. I've already touched on this, but the gunplay looks amazing and is exciting me more than just about anything else we've seen so far. Weapons appear weighty, and enemy reactions to being shot at are also incredibly satisfying, with helmets flying dramatically just as they used to. If I'm not mistaken, here we see dollar bills flying in the air, suggesting at the very least this heister is carrying a money bag, and this is just a visual identifier. It could also potentially mean that duffel bags can leak, which was a scrap feature planned for Payday 2. Also, look how slick and unobtrusive this grenade tossing animation is. Next to Payday 2, there's just no comparison, and I've noticed even beyond subtle improvements like these, there's been a lot of attention to detail when it comes to how weapons handle, meaning I think we can expect to be playing a much more competent and modernised first-person shooter. The environments also look much more detailed and lend themselves to more interesting gunfights around cover. For example, the new art gallery is a perfect looking environment for a gunfight, even if it seems to be set up for more of a Mission Impossible style approach. My eyes were also drawn to this vent, which could just be for moving loot again, but based on its size, it might exist as a map traversal option, which would be a ton of fun in stealth. From what we've seen thus far, spawns look far more logical, not only helped by the seemingly lower spawn cap, but also by contextual entry, such as via this rope falling through the glass roof. Although I still count around 10 SWATs on screen at once here, meaning I don't think tougher difficulties are going to be a walk in the park. Again, it seems to blend those early Payday 2 philosophies with its modern horde shooter mechanics perfectly. There's a lot more detail gone into crafting these heisting environments too, with this world appearing to be much more lived in and alive. This is a massive point of distinction for the game, as it makes everything about your heist feel more impactful and inherently raises the stakes. Hell, if they just worked on those facial animations, I might even start to feel bad when I inevitably throw a grenade that blows up every civ on the map. Maybe. That's mostly all we've seen from this footage, but I did want to correct myself on something I mentioned in the previous video. Clearly you can actually see the escape is by van on this heist, with a visible escape zone here just like in Payday 2, which was something that even I missed. That means this phone interaction is likely some other unknown mechanic, still likely involving the chopper. I do think that drills and armor were also conspicuous in their absence, potentially pointing to massive overhauls of those mechanics. I am so excited to hear more and have these questions finally answered. These dev diaries are an excellent approach and have been very nicely presented by the guys involved, so huge props for that. He's hoping we learn even more before this month is through, but for the time being, I'll just be keeping my fingers crossed for a solution to the Payday 2 problem. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all very soon. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.